History remembers Jackie Kennedy as poised, graceful, and untouchable. Yet behind closed doors, her longtime bodyguard witnessed moments the public was never meant to see. Now, after 50 years of silence, he is finally speaking out, forcing everyone to reconsider what they thought they knew. What exactly was hidden, and why was it kept secret for so long? Jacqueline Bouvier was working as a newspaper photographer in Washington when she met a charming, ambitious young politician named John F. Kennedy. The couple married in 1953, and by 1961, John was elected the 35th President of the United States. They moved into the White House with their two young children, Caroline and John Jr. For the first time in over half a century, the American public watched a young, vibrant family run around the executive mansion. The media famously called it Camelot, a term that has recently resurfaced as modern political families attempt to craft similar mythologies, though none have matched the original. And while everyone saw a flawless fairy tale, the man standing just inches away witnessed a completely different reality. When Jackie first moved into the White House, she viewed the Secret Service as an invasion of her privacy. She fought hard against having a permanent security guard, preferring to slip away unnoticed whenever possible. However, a young agent named Clint Hill was assigned to her. At first, Hill felt disappointed. Most young agents wanted the high-status action of the presidential detail, not the quiet task of shadowing a young mother. But none guessed that this forced arrangement would transform into an unbreakable partnership built on absolute loyalty. Their unexpected connection deepened during grueling diplomatic tours to India and Pakistan. Far from the American press corps, Hill became far more than a silent observer. He evolved into her steady emotional anchor, learning her exact routines, anticipating her anxieties, and shielding her private vulnerabilities from aggressive cameras. This intense, platonic closeness gave him a front-row seat to a complicated woman who desperately needed someone she could completely trust. The security circle expanded when another young agent, Paul Landis, joined to protect the children. This role gave Landis an unfiltered view of daily life inside the executive mansion. While Americans looked at beautifully staged magazine covers, Landis saw the messy human reality. The children playing, the quiet disagreements, the normal family struggles that the polished Camelot fairy tale worked so hard to hide. In today's era, where social media has normalized glimpses into the private lives of political figures, it's striking to remember how carefully guarded such scenes once were. During the final days of August 1963, those hidden struggles turned into overwhelming heartbreak. The couple's newborn son, Patrick, passed away only 2 days after his premature birth. The protective agents stood watch outside the hospital doors, witnessing raw, painful grief that the public cameras never saw. They observed the massive emotional strain this tragedy placed on the political marriage, alongside the quiet moments where the grieving parents leaned on each other for survival. By late autumn, a heavy sense of worry filled the Secret Service office. Agents began tracking a growing list of hostile threats coming directly out of Texas. Despite these clear warnings, political advisors finalized the campaign route through Dallas. The security team double-checked their standard plans, thinking they were prepared. But none of their training could prepare these men for the pandemonium waiting in the Texas sunshine, a single moment that would shatter history in less than 4 seconds. The cheerful roar of over 100,000 excited spectators packed into Dealey Plaza vanished in a heartbeat. A sharp crack echoed off the concrete structures. Suddenly, devastating rifle shots tore through the autumn air and struck the president. In the back of the open-top limousine, the commander-in-chief slumped forward, clutching his throat. The festive parade transformed instantly into absolute terror before the crowd even realized what was happening. From the running board of the trailing security vehicle, Agent Clint Hill acted on pure adrenaline. He leaped from his position and sprinted forward, chasing down the presidential limousine as it surged ahead. His boots pounded against the hot asphalt in a desperate attempt to reach the vehicle and shield the first family. By the time he reached the rear bumper, he had to make a frantic grab for the metal handholds. What Hill witnessed as he pulled himself onto the car trunk remains incredibly haunting. A completely traumatized Jackie Kennedy was scrambling blindly onto the rear hood of the moving vehicle. Driven by deep emotional shock, she crawled on her knees across the leather to retrieve fragments of her husband's shattered skull. Hill pushed her back down into the rear seat, spreading his body over her and the bleeding president to form a human shield against further incoming rounds. While Hill held the family down, another historic mystery was unfolding inside the blood-stained vehicle. Agent Paul Landis noticed something extraordinary lodged in the seam of the leather seat cushion, a pristine, fully intact bullet that appeared to have popped loose from the president's back wound. Fearing a souvenir hunter would steal this vital evidence, Landis slid the projectile into his pocket. This hidden action would remain buried for 6 decades, altering everything the public thought they knew about the shooting. The recent release of declassified documents has brought Landis's account back into sharp focus. With the wounded president cradled in his wife's lap, the vehicle began a terrifying, high-speed dash toward the nearest hospital. Hill remained spread-eagled across the trunk, feeling the intense wind and violent swerves. Jackie sat in frozen silence, her famous pink outfit covered in dark stains, staring blankly ahead. As the limousine screeched to a halt at the emergency bay, the physical ambush was over, but an agonizing psychological battle was just beginning inside the hospital walls. Parkland Memorial Hospital quickly turned into a chaotic scene of panic. Medical professionals rushed into Trauma Room 1, working fruitlessly over the fallen leader. Amidst this frantic scramble, the First Lady stood entirely frozen against the wall, refusing every gentle request from staff to step outside. She chose instead to witness the final battle for his life, staring directly at the emergency table. Agents Clint Hill and Paul Landis stood shoulder to shoulder next to her, forming a rigid barrier. From this close vantage point, the guards watched the young mother drop to her knees on the blood-covered floor. She began to pray quietly, her hands gently touching her husband as doctors realized there was nothing more they could do. During these final moments, Landis made a critical decision. He pulled the pristine bullet from his pocket and slid it onto the edge of the presidential hospital stretcher, hoping to keep the evidence safe. He had no idea this simple action would create massive historical confusion, eventually giving birth to the highly debated single bullet theory. After the official announcement of death, aides repeatedly begged the grieving First Lady to remove her iconic pink wool suit and wash the visible stains from her skin. She fiercely refused. She declared that she wanted everyone to see exactly what the attackers had done to her husband. She chose to wear the tragedy openly, using her outfit as a silent weapon. This powerful stance continued aboard the presidential aircraft during the somber journey back to Washington. With the stained clothes, Jackie stood directly beside Lyndon B. Johnson during his emergency inauguration, appearing like a frozen statue of grief. The graphic stains forced every official in the tight room to look at the tragic cost of this sudden transition of power. While the world marveled at her grace during the state funeral, behind closed doors, a far darker psychological collapse was quietly unfolding. The aftermath left an invisible, devastating scar on the men who wore the protective black suits. Clint Hill returned to Washington carrying a crushing weight of guilt that would torment him for decades. He constantly replayed those chaotic seconds in his mind, tortured by the belief that if he had been a fraction of a second faster, he could have taken the fatal shot himself. This internal torment caused a severe downward spiral into deep depression. Night after night, violent terrors woke him in a cold sweat until he abruptly walked away from his Secret Service career in 1975 to escape the haunting ghosts. For over 50 years, both Clint Hill and Paul Landis abided by a strict, unwritten code of absolute silence. They did not view their intimate memories as a commercial commodity to sell. Instead, they treated their experiences as a sacred professional trust belonging entirely to the grieving family. They turned down massive financial offers and constant media attention, choosing to carry the heavy secrets completely alone. In a modern context where former Secret Service agents have faced intense scrutiny, such as the January 6 hearings, their silence stands as a stark contrast. This long silence hid a shocking flaw in the government's investigation. Unknowingly, the Warren Commission forgot to interview Paul Landis altogether. His critical account of finding the pristine bullet on the limousine upholstery never made it into the official files. By completely skipping Landis, federal investigators missed a massive detail that would challenge the foundation of their entire case. When Landis finally shared his story after 6 decades, it shook historical circles. His testimony upends the official narrative by proving the pristine bullet came from the limousine seat, not from Governor John Connolly's hospital stretcher. This suggests the bullet popped directly out of the president's shallow back wound before anyone reached the hospital, destroying the foundation of the single bullet theory. Without that theory, the logic behind a lone gunman falls apart, opening the possibility of a second shooter. With the official narrative compromised and her trust broken, Jackie realized she could never find true peace on American soil. In 1964, Jackie relocated to a luxury apartment in New York City. Yet this change did nothing to ease her racing mind. Severe post-traumatic stress disorder followed her everywhere. She became convinced that her 2 young children remained primary targets of a massive, ongoing conspiracy. Every shadow looked like a threat, and every loud noise caused immediate panic. She lived in a constant state of hypervigilance, locking her doors and viewing the outside world with deep suspicion. The fragile bubble of security shattered during the summer of 1968. The assassination of her brother-in-law, Robert F. Kennedy, destroyed her remaining emotional stability. This second public execution convinced her that a hidden group was actively hunting down anyone with the Kennedy name, a fear that resonates today as families of high-profile figures increasingly face credible threats. Terrified for her children's lives, she decided to escape the United States entirely. Her search for absolute safety led to a shocking choice. Jackie suddenly married an incredibly wealthy Greek shipping tycoon named Aristotle Onassis. While the world viewed this as a strange, cold romance, it was actually a calculated transaction. Jackie was not looking for love. She was using his immense fortune to purchase total privacy and a private army of security guards that an ordinary citizen could never afford. Her longtime American Secret Service protectors watched this flight across the Atlantic with sadness and worry. They understood that by marrying a foreign billionaire, she was legally forced to give up her official government protection detail. She traded away her daily freedom for a heavily fortified sanctuary on the isolated Greek island of Scorpios. However, her children did not lose their protection. The Secret Service continued to guard Caroline and John Jr. until they reached 16. Even within this golden fortress surrounded by water, true peace remained out of reach. Jackie could not run away from the trauma living inside her own mind. Despite the concrete walls, elite security guards, and a vast ocean separating her from America, she remained profoundly isolated. She frequently contacted Secret Service Director James Rowley to coordinate logistics for her children, who split time between New York, boarding schools, and Greece. She actively worked with the agency to request Greek-speaking U.S. agents and ensure her private security integrated seamlessly with the government detail. The final decades of her life brought Jackie back to New York City, where she quietly reinvented herself. She took a regular job as a literary editor at a major publishing house, spending her afternoons reviewing manuscripts and enjoying ordinary routines, a quiet dignity that feels almost radical in an age where former first ladies often launch media empires. In 1993, Jackie found out she had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She faced the aggressive illness with the same quiet dignity she always displayed. She passed away peacefully inside her Manhattan apartment in May 1994, taking her deepest secrets with her. Throughout her post-White House years and until her final breath, Clint Hill maintained a fierce, protective shield around her. He made sure her private health struggles were completely protected from aggressive paparazzi. When her life ended, Hill experienced a profound emotional breakthrough that finally cracked his decades of silence. He wrote down his raw, unfiltered memories in deeply personal memoirs, openly weeping during interviews as he laid bare his immense respect, absolute devotion, and protective love for the former First Lady. The era of the original White House guard officially ended in February 2025 when Clint Hill passed away at 93. As the very last surviving witness who was physically on or inside the presidential limousine during the shooting, his passing marked a monumental shift. With these sentinels now gone, historians are left to restructure the official timeline of that fateful day in Dallas. The testimonies from both Landis and Hill have forced leading experts to question the core facts of the assassination, casting heavy doubt over the government's original files. These combined bodyguard accounts ultimately reshape how the world remembers the iconic First Lady. Jackie Kennedy was never a passive victim or a superficial style icon. She was a deliberate, brilliant architect who masterfully engineered her husband's enduring legacy, shaping the myth of Camelot to protect his memory for future generations. Yet their final confessions reveal that her greatest secret was not a hidden political conspiracy at all. It was the terrifying, crushing depth of a profound, permanent loneliness that no amount of status, wealth, or fame could ever cure. Do you think these new bodyguard revelations change the truth about what happened in Dallas? Or do you believe the official government findings still hold up after all these years? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to smash the like button, share this documentary, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible history content exactly like this.